All right, we got some big 49ers updates from Kyle Shanahan after his press conference with local media today. So let's get into some of the biggest news. The biggest news being is that the San Francisco 49ers tight end, all-pro tight end, George Kittle, is slated to return this week and will likely play against the Atlanta Falcons. So this is awesome news. Obviously, with everything that has been going on with Fred Warner, some good news now is very much needed. So George Kittle, the People's tight end, slated to return this week, barring any setbacks in practice. So that is some good news. We had some roster updates. The 49ers waived Isaac Alsorn and released offensive lineman Killian Zier from the practice squad. Interesting to see that they have gotten rid of both of those guys. Isaac was suspended for 6 weeks due to, I believe, like a PED infraction. He was also on the roster through the International Pathway Program. So it'll be interesting to see if the 49ers add another additional roster spot for someone who can fill that role, because that allows the team to have 91 roster spots. So we'll see if that move is made. We did get an update on Fred Warner. Fred Warner will have surgery tomorrow. So that will start his long process back. And it's an unfortunate one. You know, we're all feeling for Fred. It's a tough situation. And then to kind of add insult to injury, on that particular play where he got injured, there was only 10 players on the field. And one of the players was supposed to be a defensive lineman, a defensive end, actually, who kind of would have lined up over Tristan Wirfs, who ended up blocking Fred Warner on that play. And who knows how differently maybe that could have looked if there was that 11th guy on the field. Again, it's one of those we'll never know type situations, but to add more to the like freak nature of that play is that might have been different if they had 11 guys on the field. So Kyle Shanahan referenced it as an unfortunate mistake, because I think they all recognize that definitely had an impact to where Fred was and all of those things. So a brutal situation for that, but obviously with Fred, with the dislocated ankle and the fracture that came along with it, he'll have that surgically repaired tomorrow. So prayers out to him. I know we're all hurting for him. You know, Fred is that guy. And just brutal loss, you know, for everyone. There are some good news on the horizon, I should say. The 49ers will evaluate Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall on Wednesday, and both of them have a chance to return this week. This is kind of what's been in the works dating back to last week. We had heard that both Ricky and Brock were working off to the side, and everything in between. So they've been going through their rehab work, but it does sound like they both have a real shot at being able to play against the Atlanta Falcons. I do believe, you know, keeping it close to the vest, you know, you never know what can happen over the next 2 days. A setback could occur. So just want to make sure that they're good to go on that Wednesday before they head out to practice. But I think if both of them return on Wednesday in a limited fashion, I would say that is a very, very good sign for their availability coming up here against the Falcons. Primetime game at Levi's Stadium. We're going to need a lot of juice, you know. Who's going to step up? Who's going to fill in for Fred Warner? We already know he's not just the leader of the defense. He's the leader of the whole team, man. So the 49ers have a lot of leaders. They got a lot of alphas. But, you know, Fred was one of those guys. He was one of them ones, as they say. So we'll see who steps up. And again, just puts more emphasis on Brock Purdy to get back into that driver's seat and remind everyone why he is quarterback one for the San Francisco 49ers. We do have a bit of an update For Brandon Aiyuk, not necessarily. The update is there's still no timetable for return. I think it's crystal clear that the San Francisco 49ers are not going to put a hard date on his return. I would have to assume when we find out he is going to be returning, it will probably be a pre-coordinated effort where they know for a fact that he will be practicing. So I would assume week 9, week 10 could be the potential target for him. But up until then, I don't anticipate that we are going to get anything in that regard. So with Brandon Aiyuk, there's actually some drama that was stirred up today by a credentialed media member as well, which is surprising. I'm going to make a video on that because it's false, and I'll explain why. But that's not what this video is for. This video is for the updates for the practice situations and the roster moves and all of that. So we'll get into that in the other video. If you want, you're like, oh, what are you talking about, Brad? Just wait. I'm going to post that video right after this. Jordan Watkins, good news for the rookie wide receiver at Ole Miss. He is slated to return this week. Again, just another unfortunate injury with him. He was a guy that was slated to probably have a big impact early on this season, with BA being out, with Demarcus Robinson being suspended. Obviously, Juwan Jennings gets injured. Ricky Pearsall eventually gets injured. I really do think that the 49ers were getting him acclimated essentially by fire in training camp because they needed him ready to go. I think they were really planning on using him quite a bit early on this season while those guys were out. And unfortunately, he got hurt. And he's been out all this time. And I think that was in the second preseason game that he got like a high ankle sprain, I believe it was. So Jordan Watkins hopefully will be good to go, would be able to contribute here pretty soon. He had a pretty strong training camp until he went down. So we'll see about that. But overall, pretty good news, obviously excluding the Fred Warner situation. There's obviously not a whole lot that we can do about that. But, it's one of those situations. I know fans find themselves in a hard spot because being a fan of this team is borderline exhausting. So I get it. And, with the injuries, it just is like a compounding feeling and a situation that just keeps stirring up. So I understand the frustration that comes along with it, but I do think, we got to keep rolling. We got to keep fighting. We got to keep rolling with the punches, man. There are teams across the league that have lost their franchise players. And, yes, does it feel like the 49ers are the most injured of them all? Sure does, but it's not an excuse. The players will say that, and they know it's a next man up. You get paid to play this game, and now you got an opportunity. Go out, make the most of it. So getting Kittle back, getting Purdy back, getting Pearsall back is going to be a good thing for the San Francisco 49ers. We need to give Mac Jones a break. Mac Jones was playing great. I really didn't have much issue of how he played against the Tampa Bay Bucks. I thought he played well. Even within the two interceptions, one looked like a miscommunication on the route. The other one was just a phenomenal play by the defense. The way they disguised their coverage and were alert to where he wanted to throw it. Jamal Dean just made a phenomenal play, showing like he was covering the out and then dropping back and, getting in the passing lane on the deep route. But I think it's time. We need Brock's mobility, and him being back, I think, will be a good thing. So hopefully he's 100%. I think that's the only caveat that I really want to see, is that he is he's 100%. And because we don't want him to get hurt again, we don't want him to get re-aggravated. So hopefully if he's going to play this week, that means he's 100%. And Clearly with the Jags, he wasn't. But we get it. Players play, you know, when they're banged up all the time. So I just hope he's 100%. But I'm curious to know, what do you guys think about all this stuff? And like I said, if you are interested in the Brandon Aiyuk drama that got popped up out of nowhere, I'll tell you exactly why that report is false in the next video. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.